So I want to start here. I know I should probably just start at question 2. Oh, you can't see me. Uh, First thing you should have noticed is that there is a boatload of reading here. What is the number one rule of read all the words? So there is a whole paragraph up here that you should have started to read. And up here is telling you that they are in Texas, where there's sandstone. And then they tell you that this area has loose sand and that sand dune is going to develop in this box. So guys, what is this loose sand going to do? Blow around. They're telling you it's going to make a sand dune here. Here it tells you, it wants you, it tells you a whole bunch, but yeah, you got to read all of this. But in the end, you were supposed to draw a side view of the sand dune inside of this box. And what do we know about sand dunes? Okay, they're not perfectly squared off. They're not even perfect triangles. They do have a gentle side and a steep side. Which side is the gentle side? Okay, this is all I was looking for in this picture. So make sure your picture shows a gentle side and a steep side. I saw some fancier versions of this. Keep your fancy version simple though. It even specifically told you variation, make sure it shows the variation in the slope. So I need a gentle side and a steep side. Gentle side always on the side of the wind. All right, back up to the top question here. Again, read the reading. They tell you we have a bunch of sand blowing into this basalt cobble. What is the sand going to do to the basalt? Wear it down. What's that called when sand wears down a rock? Careful. That's weathering because it's wearing down a rock, making a rock smaller. Bonus question. What type of weathering is this? It's physical. Bonus question. What type of physical weathering is it when the sand hits this rock over and over and over again? Okay, if you don't know, maybe flip back. It is abrasion. Remember, the abrasion is the bumping and rubbing of rocks. So that even though there's only one rock, what are the sand pieces? What is sand is what I'm asking. Oh. It's broken rocks. So the sand hitting this rock is broken rocks hitting this rock all day, every day. And the key with abrasion is it's going to get smaller and smoother and rounded out. Which answer is the correct one? Right, show fingers, please. Thank you, everybody. It is 2. I want to ask about 4, though. 4 is the wrong answer that almost everybody puts when they get it wrong. What's up with 4? It's not that it's too smooth. That would happen. The abrasion acts literally like sandpaper, so it would get smoother. What'd you say? It got bigger. That's the biggest thing that I noticed. See how there's this chunk here? That's not here. So the rock grew. So the rocks aren't going to grow. Sand isn't going to make the rocks grow. I think what they were doing is this looks like a sand dune with a gentle side and the wind and then a steep side. So just be careful that you're looking and thinking about the right thing. It's going to always get smaller and smoother. All right, question page 15. Just like this whole chapter, page 15 is like this chapter is a lot about just paying attention. You had to read and pay attention to the words you were reading. And you did have to know a few things to go along with it. So we're just seeing that the composition of the sediments on the surface are different than the bedrock. And they want to know why. So teachable moment. I do want to make sure you guys know what a few of those words mean. So down here, I'm going to draw a picture. And I'm going to ask you guys about bedrock. I think we've already talked about it at least a couple times. Where do you know bedrock from? Minecraft. And Minecraft is 100% accurate in this case. So in Minecraft, where do you find bedrock? under the dirt. So if you were up here walking around, building your houses up here, when you go to dig a hole, what do you dig through? So I heard you first say you dig through dirt. What's typically underneath the dirt? Okay, so I think, yep, so there's usually some sort of stones, maybe gravel. I heard some people last period tell me that there's some gravel sometimes. In real life, there might be a layer of clay. I don't know if they have that in Minecraft or not. And then once you get through all of that stuff, you hit solid bedrock. And what are the characteristics of bedrock from Minecraft? It is the gray and black stuff, I think. Yeah, it's like invincible. It's solid. You can't go through it. So I saw a few of you draw this. You might want to add this to your notes. Not an overly complicated drawing, so you might not need it. I want to just direct your attention to your reference table. You don't have to get it out. This map of New York State that we use to do latitude and longitude, the title of it is Generalized Bedrock Geology of New York State. This is a map of all the bedrock in New York State. So you guys live down here somewhere in this polka dot. The polka dot is this Devonian, which we're going to learn next period. That's how old it is. But it tells you it's slurry. It's a bunch of sandstone. Let's try again. Limestone, shale, sandstone, and conglomerate. All of this rock is basically solid rock. This whole polka dot thing is just a giant slab of solid rock. And if you listen to those words I said, shale, limestone, conglomerate, do you remember what type of rocks those are? How do we figure out? Where should we look? I'll do it for you. But when they tell you names of rocks, you grab your reference tables because that's going to be important. So looking through the igneous rocks, no limestone, no shale, no conglomerate. They're up here. Those are sedimentary rocks. Most of New York State is sedimentary rocks. Just keep that in mind. So the whole bottom part of New York State is one solid hunk of sedimentary rock. Just like in Minecraft, it's solid. You can't get through it. But I'm not talking about a little solid rock. All of New York State is a solid slab underneath the dirt. So this is saying that the sediments on the surface, so this stuff, is different than the bedrock. The question is asking, how can that be? So in other words, did this come from the bedrock? If this is different than the type of rock that's down here, is that where it came from? No, it came from somewhere else. Where could it have come from? Take a look at the answers. We're saying that these sediments must have been transported here. So the fact that sediments are different than the bedrock means that they had to be brought here by something else. They did not come from the rocks that are living here and never moved. Speaking of, we need to define two vocab words. Because one of the wrong answers said that the sediments are residual. I know we talked about what residual means, but I think we need to put it in our notes. So up here, we are going to define two different words. So save yourself enough room to do like two definitions. The first is we are going to define residual. Yeah. Residual means it's leftovers. It's never been moved. Oh, it's residual soil. I'm sorry. So residual soil is soil that has never been moved. So thinking about our picture, so again, residual soil that's never been moved. Thinking about our picture, these sediments up here, if they were residual, that means they came from this bedrock, meaning parts of this bedrock were chipped off and made these sediments here. That's residual. That is not the case in New York State. Most of our soils are the opposite, which is transported soils. So those are two really important to know the distinctions between the two of them, because if that's the exact wrong answer here. Sediments are residual means the sediments have never been moved. All right, moving on. Earth's surface, speaking of transported soils, transported materials are more common than residual materials. How come? Which answer? The moved soil is more popular than the soil that's not been moved. Which process has done that? Yeah, that's literally the definition of erosion, transporting soils. Number 3, the surface materials in New York State can be classified as, most surface materials can be classified as. Yeah, transported soils. Almost everything in New York State is transported soils. Soil has been moved. What has moved most of the soils in New York State? Glaciers. Glaciers have literally scratched everything off our surface and deposited new stuff. Places like Hawaii are going to be places where you might not find a lot of transported soils. Those soils came right from the volcanoes, the volcanic rocks getting broken up. Speaking of volcanic rocks, you can also use earth science common sense. Are most of the soils in New York State going to be made of igneous rocks? No, why not? We don't have volcanoes around here. Same idea. Are they most of our surface features going to be caused by coastal plain deposits? Use, what does coastal mean? Like a beach. Can you say most of New York State is like a beach? No. Also, metamorphic rocks, if you remember, those are formed by heat and pressure, usually from mountain building. So we don't have a lot of mountains. They do in the Adirondacks, but again, that's not most of New York State. Let's see. What'd you guys pick for 4? 1, 2, 3, or 4. Show of fingers, please. Yeah, that's all it is. So again, what kind of rock is granite? Granite is an igneous rocks. Do igneous rocks belong in New York State? What did John just say? No, we don't have volcanoes here. So you're not going to have igneous rocks just hanging out here unless they got moved here. Hopefully we got number 5 right. Weathering and erosion is, by definition, rocks are broken and moved. And we already kind of talked about number 6. Most rocks have been moved by some agent of erosion at some point in their history. Sorry. Thought about taking the rest of today off and going, but going tomorrow anyway. All right. So what time 50? Well, you knew that answer right away. Wow, you guys got through that way quicker than any other class. So we are going to be having a test around this time next week. These are the types of questions you can expect about weathering, erosion, and deposition so far. Does anybody have any questions on those that we just did? Okie doke. Then I don't think we're going to get to any actual notes today. Nobody else has, so I'm just going to keep you guys in line with everybody else. But we're not done. We're going to just get to where everybody else got. 5th period didn't get very far because I started coughing and gave up. This is the wrong PowerPoint. So on Friday before Regents Week, which was almost 2 weeks ago at this point, we watched a video about these houses in North Carolina. So in case you forgot. So some of them, it sounds like, so I watched a whole lot of these videos trying to find like a good one. It sounds like some of them did and some of them did not. Like one just like they weren't even expecting it. So no.
Good to try and get the houses out. That way they're like garbage is trying to get somewhere.
It not only got, I mean, the one video, like everything. Like that's why now they've taken a few down on purpose so that they can control them. Because like think of all the nails, all the glass, and this is a popular beach resort. Like people are walking there and it's not good.
Do you get like a lot of insurance money for that?
It depends. Some of these houses, they might have been told by now we can't insure you, or their insurance on them had to be crazy expensive. And to try and save money, they might have cut some costs. So it's hard to say. Just knowing as a homeowner, I mean, if you own one of these houses, your probably money isn't what you're thinking about. So maybe they're not homeowners like I'm a homeowner. So it's speaking of, these are all fancy beach places where it's obvious to see the erosion happening here. Now, we talked about this, I believe Caden brought it up, like, why did they build their house there? Do you guys remember, did they? No. So remember, this is the front of their house. When they built their house, they had a backyard, a sand dune, and then a huge beach behind their house. It is moved, like, I think they said like 100 yards or something. I don't remember exactly how far it had been. The beach has moved an immense amount. And we think of it being a problem in places like that, but here's good old Lakeshore School District. Yeah, what's up?
Wait, so does that mean like water you want guys if they're like another spot across here that can go in?
Yes, that's actually a really good point. Let me see if I can find
Wouldn't there be another beach on the other?
yes, and that's a really, really good point. I think one of these videos might show how small this island is. This lady has so much money, she picked up her house and moved it. I literally couldn't even watch anymore. I'm like, I can't relate. I don't understand.
Cool.
Yeah.
File your taxes 100%.
You have a lot of money. End of story. You have way more money than you know what to do with. Okay, so like I was saying, this doesn't just happen in really warm, beautiful places. I mean, not that Lake Erie isn't a beautiful place, but it's not what we think of when we think of beaches typically. So this is over in the Lakeshore School District. It is near Went Beach, if anybody's ever been there. It's near Bennett Beach or Evangola State Park or near Mickey Rat's, not all the way down by Sunset Bay. But what I read about this is these people, so what do you notice is in front of their house? Okay, they've got these barriers, they built these giant walls, and you can only imagine if anybody knows anything about concrete, that was expensive. Really, 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 really expensive. And you can see that over here, they did not build any barriers. And what I was reading is when these people moved in, that this cliff was level with their barriers. You can see they lost like a whole yard's worth of land going back there, and the cliff is just completely being eaten away. It's still going to be completely eaten away. So it's significant even around here. Lake Erie does not compare to an ocean with its waves, so it can happen on a much smaller scale. We have friends who own a cottage on Lime Lake. They had to build one of these huge concrete barriers. Luckily, they don't have kids, so they're practically millionaires. You guys are expensive. So they were able to build these walls just on Lime Lake, and they now have, they're not losing their backyard to wave erosion, even on a small lake, lake. Oh my gosh, I'm having a really hard time here. Even over on Lime Lake, it's a problem. This I think is just where we're gonna stop because nobody else made it farther than this, and I'm having trouble. So we're all done.